Good evening, everyone. This indeed is a special night. We're here to honor three heroes in the city of Oswego. You may have heard on March 13th of this year, an individual ended up in the water off of Cahill Pier, and the three individuals standing next to me stepped up and helped rescue that guy, saved the gentleman from drowning, and was there until our first responders came. So I'd like a round of applause for these heroes. Thank you.
I just personally think the Coast Guard and the fire department and police did a great response time and very courteous, professional, and I really saw it in action, and I really appreciate that. That was great.
Certainly, it would be helpful if you keep your comments to 5 minutes, hopefully, so everybody has a chance to speak. And during public session, no person shall be permitted to use profanity, to engage in name-calling, or to personally attack any city officer or employee or any other member of the public. I took that off of the city website under Rule 8285 for public session. So with that said, our first person signed up is John Glenn, I believe. Glenn.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. I received a notification that my taxes were going to go up because my house had been approved from 82 or 83,000 to 150,000, and so now, you know, when I was a kid growing up in San Francisco, we had a place, it was called a fun house, and in the fun house there was this big wheel that was a spinning wheel, and the object was to get right in the center of the wheel so you weren't thrown off, and to win you had to stay in that wheel while it was spinning at full speed. Sometimes I feel like that. I'm on a fixed income. I have a house. I purchased a house many years ago, and trying to balance, you know, everything in the cost of living has gone up. My medical, all that has taken a quantum leap to where I can't afford it. And sometimes I feel like I'm, you know, the wheel. You know, you're in charge of the speed, you know, and you would boost that up and people fly off, you know. And I think it's important in this country and in this city that you have homeowners, people who own their household, who have vested interest in their neighborhood. And to me, it just seems like that was done without my input. And I don't know how many other had input, but I got a letter. How many bathrooms do you have? You know, and I filled that out and sent it in, and next thing I know, I've been assessed twice as much of what I was before or thereabouts. So I just wanted to say that I really feel that that's not, it's not very friendly. We should have an input. We should be able to converse and reason together about what these costs are and why they're there. And they're always, oh, it's the cost of living. Well, we all have that. But this is like adding $1,000 to my income, my lack of income, and it's going to throw the wheel. And so I just came here to say I hope you guys think a little bit about that before you go hiking us up so much, so fast. We ought to slow down and listen to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. John Goic Sr. is next on the list.
Evening, Your Honor, counselors. I didn't prepare anything tonight, but I don't want to come up and start complaining about my taxes, so I won't do that. I just have at least one question, and I'll try and be brief. Years ago, in the distant past, the power producers in this community, steam station, hydro plant of National Grids, and NDEC paid the majority of our taxes. I don't know the answer to this, that's why I'm asking if, in looking at the reevaluation, if they were included in this, and the counselors that have one of those entities in their ward, I would ask them to research it. Down here, I believe that's the first ward where NRG is, maybe the 7th ward where the power plant is, or the tip of the 5th, the hydro plant, and over in the, I believe the 2nd ward is NDEC. So that was a question. I don't know if it's been addressed by our assessor or not. Maybe it has, but it's just a good question to see where they fall and if their assessment was raised. The main reason, though, I come up tonight was to not question the intent of the council or the mayor or the assessor at all. I'm sure their intentions were admirable. I think in their minds they're trying to do the right thing. However, most everyone up there are elected officials. So not looking for an answer tonight, but what I would ask of all of you, Your Honor, and all of the counselors, if there's been an overwhelming outcry of people in your ward in favor of this, or has there been an overwhelming outcry of people against this? Can you just ask yourself that tonight? Because in the 5th Ward, which I know the best, which I represented for a number of years, I've had nothing but negative comments from the 5th Warders where I live and where I grew up. So all I'm asking you tonight to do is please listen to your constituency. Again, you're all trying to do the right thing, I get that. But if there's an outcry of the people that elected you, please listen to them. Thank you.
Bill Meyer is next.
I'm Bill Meyer. I live at 38 Singleton Street. I'm going to do something odd here when I start out. First, I'd like to thank Kevin Hill, our city assessor, for his time and patience in helping me with the informal paperwork for the GAR Associates. And I'd encourage everyone to see Kevin if they have any questions. I looked at the court case that was handed out last Wednesday, not being a lawyer, but I'm having one look at it. When you look at asterisk number 1, it reads that it was proposed by the town officials to rescind the 1973 assessment roll and reinstate the 1972 assessment roll. It also goes on to state that town officials have no authority to rescind their current assessment roll. This is not what we're asking. I do not think we're comparing apples to apples, because if I'm reading this right, it's referring to official assessment rolls. At present, we do not have an official assessment roll. It will not be an assessment roll until July 1st, 2024. What we have now is a mess. I feel like I've purchased tickets to a magic show, but instead of rabbits, the magician is pulling numbers out of his hat. Unfortunately, the city administration did not inform the public of some very important details prior to sending out the 2024 assessment notification letters. The biggest being, what are you going to pay for your taxes? The numbers are on the sheet, but how you got those numbers is a mystery. For instance, on $328,000, my city tax is $1,747. Using the tax rate from 23, it comes out to $5,015, a difference of $3,268. If I combine all my taxes, instead of $8,583, it goes to $13,558, a difference of $4,974. Today, using new numbers that I got today from the county and the school, my total tax from 2023 will go up from $7,233 to $8,964, an increase of $1,731, which means now I'll be putting $750 per month away to cover my taxes. And you're wondering why taxpayers of Oswego are here. There were no informational meetings or public hearings to explain what the numbers were going to be and how they were arrived at prior to sending out the 2024 assessment notification letters, or at least I didn't know of any. Remember, we've all been told that we've not had a reassessment since 1997. And not knowing all of the laws and how the levy impacts our taxes, along with the total lack of communication on the part of this and past administrations, has led to this total chaos. I think at this point, another public forum would help, now that everyone has had a chance to look at this and digest some of the previous information. This time it might help to include a representative from the school district, seeing as how that's our highest tax. Last Wednesday, when asked what it cost for GAR to do this reassessment, the figure was thrown out at $300,000. In a newspaper article dated June 29, 2022, it stated that the council voted unanimously to approve a 2-year agreement with GAR Associates to do a reassessment. And it goes on to state that the contract between the city and GAR would be at a cost of $75,000. What happened? The article also stated that GAR would start by collecting data and inventory, and they will sketch the parcels as well as take photographs. And they will also measure each property for square footage. Was all this done? And if so, who oversaw it? I've also not seen or heard about the utilities, John kind of covered on this, that we have in the city, the steam station, Indec, and the hydro dam. I hope these properties were not overlooked because they could have a big impact on our tax base. I'm going to close the same way I did 2 weeks ago. I would like to remind this administration that your constituents have put their faith, trust, and confidence in you not only to run our city, but to look out for the well-being of all the people in Oswego. Thanks for giving me this time to express my views on this matter. Thank you.
Chance Kennedy?
Good evening. I'm Chance Kennedy. I'm at 68 West First Street here. So I'm going to switch gears. I'm not talking about the assessment, so you can breathe a sigh of relief. So I'm here to speak about what seems to be the lack of cooperation regarding working with the port and the East First Street median issue. It seems to me that the median that was placed was simply to appease the hotel owners in the city, and end of list. As stated in the article by William Schreiber, the CEO of the Port Authority, in the Oswego County Today.com article, this is a direct quote from that article. Just one oversized load can bring up to $80,000 into our community, which is not going into the port's profits. It's going to wages and local purchases. Sorry, my allergies. Local purchases. Taking a shorter, more direct route to Route 104 by way of East First Street makes transport of oversized projects much easier and at a lower overall cost. The alternative route we use to the east of the port for wind turbine components is not available at present, as the board is in the process of acquiring property, unquote. It's things like this that help our community thrive, things we should be looking to embrace instead of alienate. Money from the port does not go into the port's pockets. It goes into our community, and I am not sure why this is at all an issue. The only issue I can see is to not moving forward is big business preventing such things. As at the forum meeting, the mayor stated that we have around $14 million in reserve. The estimate to remove a portion of this median is about $30,000, and the port is willing to pay $25,000 of that. I realize that this is an estimate and that those can go up, but barring some exorbitant cost, this really should not be an issue. I hope that this council will reconsider this proposal in the very near future. I made it my platform in 2023 when I ran for First Ward Council, and I will make it my platform in 2025 when I run again. Thank you.
Brian Parkhurst?
I'll try to speed through this. It's pre-prepared, so. Good evening. My name is Brian Parkhurst, and I have been asked to say a few words tonight on behalf of concerned citizens. I understand that this panel cannot answer nor confront any of the questions or issues that I set forth this evening, but instead hope to encourage the governing body to consider another round of Q&A to help the public understand the basic who, what, and why of our current assessment project. I would also like to firstly commend Kevin Hill on his efforts to tackle this massive undertaking set upon him by the previous administration and some current seated council members. It's not easy to take on a job of this magnitude, to learn new things every day and have an entire citywide reassessment thrown on your desk on day one. It's a job that is difficult even to the most seasoned tax assessor, let alone a first year. His dedication to the public, offering extensive help to aid those who are struggling, is the very quality necessary to carry out his position, and I have no doubt he will do well as he undergoes his training and the certification process. With that said, I would like to address Mr. Hill's opening statements from the last public meeting. Mr. Hill had put together what I thought was a well thought out and to the point presentation of the assessments, intentions, targets, and end goals. I believe there has been a lot of explanation in the first 6 minutes and 30 seconds of last session, but also a lot of confusion that requires clarity. I ask for another question and answer session to bring the opportunity before the council to clarify many of the statements made and discussed in the last Q&A session. For instance, Mr. Hill had made the statement that 25% of city parcels are paying disproportionately high amount of property tax within our business community, end quote. The key word being business community. The question arises, what parcels are you referring to in this 25%? Are we talking about 25% of total parcels or just parcels in the business community? Can we see some data, or where can we find the data to show the public that indicates that this is a problem? There are many parcels in the city that belong to businesses that pay very little to no taxes at all, as they are tax exempt for one reason or another. Many parcels of which are in very desirable locations, such as along our riverfronts and newly developed downtown locations. I'm sure there are programs and incentives that these businesses utilize to their benefit, as the city also inevitably benefits from their developments. But that leaves the basic question: what is considered fair, equal, and equitable? Equal isn't always fair, and equitable isn't always equal, which brings me to question number 2. Was it the council's intention when they voted on this reassessment to take the burden of the tax of the shoulders of wealthier, more successful business parcels and place it upon the lower 25% of property owners who struggle to pay taxes even on their underassessed assets, to subsidize a kind of tax break for businesses here in Oswego? Is it fair that everyone pays their fair share? In a perfect world, I would say so. However, who dictates what is considered a fair share? It is not fair that large business is it not fair that large business, out-of-town corporations, and energy companies all pay a little bit more than the average homeowner, especially those who receive taxpayer-funded grants and incentives but don't pay into the city tax pool? Mr. Hill stated himself that currently, and I quote, "there is an inequity in our current assessment structure that benefits a large portion of the city at the expense of a much smaller number of property owners," end quote. In translation, the needs of the many are being subsidized by the few who are paying a bit more into the tax pool. Is it not in our city's best interest to take care of its most vulnerable residents by offering tax breaks to those who can't afford it, and place the burden of tax onto those successful business parcels who can afford it and who are driven to success by the commerce generated by the very residents that are now expected to take on this burden? Mr. Hill also stated that this assessment is not to generate additional revenue for the city, but instead to reallocate the burden of taxes across city parcels to what the city considers fair and equitable. Which brings me to question number 3. It has been stated that the city or its council cannot legally stop the reassessment process. Is it that they cannot terminate the contract with GAR Associates? And if so, by fulfilling the contract, are we under any obligation to use GAR's numbers and figures to move forward? Or is it that they cannot stop a reassessments project at all? Mr. Hill stated, "As assessor, I have the autonomous authority to make assessments," end quote. If the assessor has the autonomous ability to make assessments, then does he not also possess the ability to not use the figures provided by GAR Associates? Mr. Hill ended his opening statements with this: "If we step back and really consider the circumstances surrounding many of the properties that are projected to see a tax increase, how long has the property been underassessed, and has anyone considered the amounts that are very likely should have been paid for years or longer but were not?" End quote. I ask that the assessor and council also apply this very philosophy while comparing to our untaxed riverfront properties, power station properties, racetrack, and other underassessed parcels. Mr. Hill goes on to say, quote, "As assessor, I'm required to sign an oath stating that our assessments are at a uniform percentage of value. Any objective analysis of our current assessments would demonstrate this is not the case. Any revision to those values, in my opinion, is both illegal and unconscionable, so to the members of the council, you are off the hook," end quote. Mr. Hill is taking the bullet on the unanimously approved reassessment package, a package that was previous council and some currently seated council members knew full well would not be completed during the administration in which it was conceived, nor received by a veteran tax assessor upon completion for review, to which others have expressed questions as to what the council knew or did not know, or if the council completely understood what they were voting on when it was passed, or if they had all the facts to begin with, all of which could be addressed if given the opportunity for another Q&A public forum. I believe this governing body can all agree that the burden of all council members and appointed city officials to be as transparent and forthcoming when faced with their constituents' concerns, worries, and grievances. I believe to deny a request for answers is an injustice to those whose voices are only echoed by the ones for whom they voted and support here in our governing body. I thank you all for your time to listen, and I look forward to working with Kevin and this council as they move forward in their efforts to propel Oswego into a more equitable future. Thank you.
Carol Thompson.
Honorable Cordino, members of the council, can you hear me okay? Because I need the mat.
It's
Okay.
kind of muffled.
Is it? I'm sorry. Am I too close? No, you're fine. Okay. All right. I wrote my notes so I don't forget anything. I'd like to begin by thanking Councilman Goic and Councilman Benucci for taking the time to listen to the people and stand up for them, even if they aren't in their wards. I know Kevin Hill, and I know what he said at the informational meeting was out of character for him. He's a very, very kind person. But I want to emphasize that the residents who sit here are not the peanut gallery. They are the backbone of our community. They put you here. They pay your salary, and they contribute to the city's progress. The expression peanut gallery is racist, and I know Kevin didn't mean it. And Councilman Goic, he's a history teacher, and he can explain the clarification if you need it. As a news reporter for 30 years, I've covered numerous municipalities that have performed these full value reassessments. However, this is the first time I've witnessed such a process without prior informational meetings. If there had been more transparency and communication from the start, these chambers wouldn't be filled with frustrated residents. I'd like to know how many of you on the council own property. I searched the council's real property site, and I couldn't find any property listed for 2 council people. So I ask, how do you weigh the impact on property owners if you don't own property? What deeply concerns me is the shift of the tax burden from commercial to residential properties with the claim that homeowners have been subsidizing commercial properties. However, you failed to disclose the number of commercial properties the homeowners are subsidizing through pilot agreements, the number of commercial properties that receive PPP funds, and the number of commercial properties that received ARPA money. This lack of information only adds to the sense of injustice among homeowners. The difference is that residential homeowners don't make a profit. We don't receive pilot agreements, we don't receive PPP, ARPA, and all the other grants and loans the government doles out to commercial owners, and we certainly have less square footage. So no matter how you spin it, we, the homeowners, subsidize commercial properties that receive the tax breaks, grants, and forgiven loans. If you look at the state's website for PPP disbursements, you'll see many businesses that receive money are now shuttered. So if hefty loans don't need to be paid back, can't keep a business open, how do you think homeowners with less disposable income can? What I find most interesting is that these assessment figures are based on market values when the reassessment project was done. Why then did so many real estate companies get PPP funds if the market was booming? It's so hypocritical. You can't say on one hand that the market is booming, and on the other hand, you can't, you're reassessing us, but yet these realtors needed money to survive through the pandemic and post-pandemic times. It doesn't make sense. And like somebody said, when do you start the next tax negotiations with the nuclear plants? Because they play a substantial role in our tax base. And I know as a reporter, I have sat through enough of these negotiations and the lawsuits that followed and reported on them. You give us tapestry, but there's so much missing left. I don't know if you're deliberately withholding this information we seek or if you genuinely don't know. But what you're doing is blatant capitalism under the veil of Marxism. If commercial properties have been subsidizing homeowners, that's on you. The residents of this city expect you to do your jobs, and if you neglect your duties, that's also on you. That is not on us. And this isn't fictional Nottingham, and you aren't all Prince John. This is Oswego, New York. This is where we live and play and work, and we can't afford this. I've owned my house for 9 years. This is my third assessment. The first two were done improperly because somehow I ended up with a 4-bedroom home, even though it's only 2. But if I was just assessed a couple years ago, what made my house increase so much in 2 years that it almost doubled, that my assessment has almost doubled? I'd like to retire someday, and I can't because I have this tax burden, which is the generic tax in this hypothetical that you gave us. This is only the generic tax. But when I saw my hypothetical, my school taxes are going to soar. And that's okay because I work for the city school district, but nonetheless, my mortgage payment goes up, my house insurance goes up, everything goes up. And somehow, some way, you need to rectify this. And I understand it, and Kevin has been so helpful. And I have a meeting with him Wednesday to fill out the papers because I never got a letter from anyone. And I went back through my informed delivery for 2 years and got nothing from GAR Association. The only thing I got from the city was my sewer water bill. And other people never got them. Tried to get on their website today, couldn't. Tried to email them, it bounced back that their email was full. Maybe you should have used a different company because I know. I've been a reporter for 30 years. I've sat through enough municipality meetings to know the complaints that came out from that company. And so that's all I want to say. And thank you, Councilman Goic, and thank you, Councilman Minucci, because you at least let us know where you stand. The others don't.
Gary Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How you doing again? I'm going to start off by talking about our exemptions that we have. A lot of people didn't know that when you do improvements over $5,000, you can qualify for an 8-year exemption. Billy Barlow enacted that legislation along with some of you counselors back in, I believe, 2017. And then the senior exemption and everything else. So, you know, this last administration would have a press conference every time the sun came up and the sun set, right? We all know that. So I think I would like to see this council and administration publish our exemptions more often before the March 1st deadline and maybe let people know. I think that would be helpful because when the mayor posted about the senior exemption, there's a lot of comments that nobody knew about it. So I think it would be helpful if we could get that posted publicly, maybe every year on the website, a little reminder or whatever, and that would be helpful for these people. I also wanted to talk about the citywide assessment where it's advertised that nothing's been done in 27 years, a citywide assessment. I was reading a New York State Real Property Tax Administration Improvement Grant. It was a study done by the state for Oswego County in 2009. In that report, it states not once but several times and also shows on the map that reassessment was done in 2008. And when that reassessment was done, it brought the city's equalization rate to 100%, along with 17 other towns and cities in the county. Only 3 towns that year did not reassess. And then in 2011, New York State Gov also lists a reassessment in 2011. So with that being said, I think we should get some clarification if a citywide reassessment really hasn't been done since 1997, because the documents prove otherwise. And I would encourage all you counselors to read that 2009 report. It's about 63 pages long. And, you know, I mean, it brought the city up to 100%. So I think maybe if we have another Q&A, maybe you can update the people on that. Also, I think another public session would be good. The mayor and the council's been very graceful listening to people for hours and hours. We know it's long, it's hard, but you guys have stood there, you guys have took it. And also Kevin, you know, he kind of took out on me last week. I don't hold nothing against him. He's stepping into the job, and you know, he's being receptive to people. And if he could get through this next 5 years, so this will probably be a little easier. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
George Valentine?
Good evening. Good evening, City Council, Mayor Cordino, Mr. Caracoli, Oswego High class of 78, if I remember right. 82? I got a lot of brothers. Folks, isn't this a wonderful thing? Isn't it wonderful that I get a chance to come up here and to talk to each of you, and you give me the respect to listen to the points that I'm making? And if I work at it and I really focus on the point I'm trying to make, I may be able to effectively talk about changing people's minds and addressing important issues like, say, the reassessment issue. I was here last Wednesday, and respect was really missing from the meeting. As was mentioned earlier, folks, the good folks of the city of Oswego were referred to as the peanut gallery. And I got to tell you, for a little while there, I had a pretty bad impression about Assessor Hill. I had the chance to meet with him today, and that changed a lot of what I was looking for. He is a dedicated public servant, as you are. But last Wednesday, Mayor Goic came and was interrupted throughout his presentation. Ms. Cosmeno was also interrupted through her presentation. I am so thankful to all of you that I am not going to have that problem. You see, there was a presentation made by the experts right here, but they only presented one option for the taxpayers, for the property owners, and by assessment from that, the renters, the people who rent from the larger landlords throughout the area. The point I wanted to make is that they were given one chance. Here you go, here's your preliminary assessment. Now you're going to have to learn the language of assessment, the language of what your living area is, about what is a bedroom. When I was talking to Assessor Hill earlier today, we found out that I don't have a 4-bedroom house, I have a 3-bedroom house. That the living area in my house, that the attic area doesn't count as living space. I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't sat down and talked across the table from him. Think of the dozens and dozens and dozens of people who don't know that, who only have to learn the language, have to get on the computer and find comparable and figure out what comparable is. Then make an argument to people who have been doing this sort of thing for years. Mr. Barnett talked about how he'd been involved in assessment for over 20 years. The point I'm trying to make to all of you especially is that These people deserve your respect. Businesses deserve your respect. Kingmakers in different political parties deserve your respect. Not your fear, but your respect. And so do all of those other people. For instance, think of the elderly people that you helped out as a police officer, who now you help them out on the worst day of their life. And now, as time goes by and time takes its toll, they don't have the ability to keep the house up like they used to. And it starts to deteriorate. And it's not worth the value that it was before, much less the value that the good folks at GAR put on it. They have only a certain amount of time to go ahead and question. And Mr. Hill has only so much time in his day to be able to tell folks what a bedroom is and how to fight things. Think of this, the little families of a teacher or the families that you're familiar with who have tried and finally they own a house. And money's tight, but hey, they found that house and they're going to stick with it. But they're awfully busy. They've got two parents that are busy all the time and they don't have the time to learn the language of assessment, to fight their way through what comparables are. Just think about that. Those are the folks that deserve your respect. They don't have much time. Heck, you don't have much time. It'll be summer before you know it. So you have the opportunity to show those people respect. We're okay? No trouble. Let's see. I would like everyone to appreciate, and if there's anyone keeping a record of this, that Mr. Hill should be taken for his word, and that if anybody wants to have him sit down with you and come up with how to fight, please give him a call at 315-342-8101. That number again, 315-342-8101. It's worth your time. Fellas, take it into your heart. Here are people who really rely on you, who are surprised. My understanding was that the decision to go with GAR, the decision to even go further on this, happened in 2022 it went to the Administrative Services Committee, it came to the floor, and boom, it was done. There wasn't any community conversation about it, other than maybe people grunting, saying, hey, look, here we go with another assessment. They had no idea that they were going to be facing 80, 90, 100% increase in their assessment, or maybe 130%. I'm not talking about my assessment. I can handle it. I have the resources. I have the understanding. I can take care of it. But what about that elderly family that you served as a police officer? What about the young couple that has finally put together enough money to buy a house? They deserve your respect. Please, let's give them a little bit more time. However it is you can. I've sent each of you an email asking, is the city council and the mayor's office powerless in this? I haven't heard one person yet say, you're right, we're powerless. Think it through. There's a solution, and you have to give the people the respect that deserve it. Thank you very much for your time.
That was the last person that had signed up, but as I said in the beginning of this, if there's anybody else that would like to speak, this would be the time.
My name's Michelle Saunders. All of you know me very well. I'm a big fan. I walk your petitions. I support you in many ways. A couple of weeks ago, we needed to walk some petitions and to support our politicians, and I've done this before. People always gladly open the door for me, and this time it was very different. People refused to open the door to me. People cussed me out, and it's like, I didn't do this. I have two next-door neighbors that are single moms that couldn't be here tonight because they have children that they have to attend to. We have widows around us, people who are vulnerable on fixed incomes. And I thought I would do something a little bit different than the other people who spoke tonight, and I'm going to read you a quick little excerpt from Plato's Gorgias. And it goes like this. If a rhetorician teaches a politician to do what is unjust, he does that man and his city far more harm than good. To this, Polus answers by means of a taunt. Wouldn't Socrates leap at the opportunity of having the power of life and death over others? No, Socrates says in response, for to put someone to death unjustly is in fact no power at all. It is at this point that Socrates enunciates one of his most enduring teachings, a teaching that represents a watershed in the moral consciousness of the West. It is better, he says, to suffer wrongdoing than to do wrong oneself. At this point, Callicles can no longer restrain himself, giving clear voice to a position that endures to the present day. He says that both what Socrates is calling justice is nothing but the constraints placed on the few strong by the many weak. It is a sort of guilt trip imposed by the powerless to limit the capacity of the powerful to get what they want. I'm an extraordinary blessed woman. I have a great job. My husband has a job. We can endure what is going to come to us. However, we know our neighbors well. We're brokenhearted for our neighbors. My husband feels so bad for these women that in the winter he goes and he snow blows for them at 5 o'clock in the morning without them even knowing, to make sure that they can get out and that they can go to work and run their errands. It's the same thing here. I'm not complaining for myself, but I implore you to think about the people that might be thrown out of their houses, that are not going to be able to live in their houses. My grandparents during the Second World War had property, and they kicked out a family during that time. And for decades later, my grandmother could never forgive herself for what she did to that family. This is not just one family that's being impacted by what's going on here. It's many families. And the way that life goes is you will find out about it, and if you can endure the harm that this is going to bring to you, because you are men of high morals and conscience, that it's going to be very difficult to endure. I'm very happy I'm not in your shoes, because this is a very difficult moment. But we think that you are honorable and that you can reconsider this and do the right thing, and to think about your constituents, not about whatever impact this has. We've all made mistakes in life, and I think that the criminals in charge that we see throughout the country, they make a mistake and they don't turn back and say, we made a mistake, and apologize. People will think of you as great men if you can turn back and say, we're sorry, we made a mistake. People will remember that kind of thing, and its errors are not unforgivable. Thank you.
Yes.
One of the main reasons my wife and I were here, of course, you saw about the accident that almost happened. But I just want to make a note of concern, but I spoke with the mayor just before this and the fire chief, and they assured me that something's going to be done. I just want to say it's the first time my wife and I saw that beautiful walkway, the Cahill thing is beautiful. And there is a hazard obviously, that can happen. The ladders don't even reach the water. The man couldn't possibly get out. I was assured some fast action is going to take place to make sure somebody doesn't stumble and fall in there again. I'm really thankful that I have confidence in that, but I just want to go on record to say that is a hazard, and unfortunately, something could happen again. I want to make a suggestion about those rings, life rings that could be put in place, et cetera, that some people can't swim at all, and if they fall over, I'd like to recommend about every 20 feet along that welded area to have a place for them to hang on to, call for help. They may not be able to swim 150 feet to that first ladder, but they could hang on to something to maybe get to the wall and hang on and yell for help. So that's different than a life ring too, but really something should be done where they can at least get to the wall and hang on. So I suggest I know there's other possibilities that can happen, but I really appreciate the assurance by the mayor, the fire chief, that they want to attend to this, but really something should be done sooner than later so it doesn't happen again. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
Good evening, all. My name is Sally Glennon. We've lived in Oswego over 50 years and have enjoyed it. I worked a lot at the YMCA. You know, just the suggestion that somebody could fall in and drown startles me. I'm a swim teacher. I'm an aquatic fitness teacher. I was a lifeguard teacher. I worked in water, okay? In this town, I went to Billy Barlow many times. We need a community pool where children can learn to swim. We've got 6 weeks out at the fort that they teach swimming. That's not enough, folks. We live by a great big lake. We need a community pool. And I know we've got the money. That's what makes me a little bit mad. Because you know, if you're not a swimmer, you don't care about it. I'm a water person, so I care about it. Plus, I care about children. And drowning is not fun. It's not necessary here. We've got a big river out here, too. You know what I mean? Why can't we do this? I keep asking that, and I get no answers. Please.
Anybody else? Lady in the back.
I didn't prepare anything. I just have very little to say. What reason does anyone in this city have to believe that the assessments are accurate or objective in any way? Because they don't appear to be. And I'm also wondering what you're going to do to help all these people that are going to be homeless and struggling and trying to pay their bills, find money to buy food. And what are you going to do with all this extra money? Because it's making you a huge profit. What are you going to do for the people of this city with all that money you're going to receive? And some people wonder if this was a simple business transaction. Perhaps Gar Associates did exactly what they were paid to do, give ridiculously high assessments to make you a nice profit.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Boic. I live in the 3rd Ward, 24 Draper Street. And I first want to thank everyone who's at the meeting tonight, who was at the informational meeting last Wednesday, and also the last Common Council meeting, to really stand up, do their research, and really try to do their best to present information to all of you, as well as the public, about the concerns they have with this reassessment. So thank you to everybody who's watching on the computer and here tonight. We really are appreciative. My husband and I were some of the people who were super enthusiastic about the prospect of there being a fair and equal assessment. He and I have owned our home for almost 12 years, and we have also had our assessment raised several times in the few years that we've owned this home. So when we get word that there hasn't been a citywide reassessment, we understand what that is, but that really isn't us. And several years ago, when we were reassessed, we put together a package that was very comprehensive, had pictures, comparatives of all kinds of houses in our neighborhood, on our street, et cetera. We went before the review board trying to point out the ridiculousness of how much more we were paying than like houses or even larger houses, even nicer houses than the one that we own. And unfortunately, it ended up yielding no results, and we were told we didn't have enough information. So we were really concerned. So when we heard that there was this new assessment coming out and it was going to be fair and equal, as we heard in campaign season right on our doorstep, we were among the people who were thrilled. Well, once we got our reassessment, we opened up the envelope and went on the website and started to look to see what was happening to the other houses in our neighborhood. And it became quickly apparent that it was not fair, it was not equal. And some of these houses were still being at a lower rate than what we were. And we were really disheartened by the whole thing. Then we started to look more into other neighborhoods around the community and comparing much nicer neighborhoods, such as in Kingsford Woods. And when we realized that our neighboring house was assessed for $275,000, I challenge all of you to drive down Draper Street and pick out which house you think could be worth $275,000, was really not much far below some of the newer homes in this city, and one of the most, I would view as probably the most prestigious neighborhoods in the community. So we grew really disheartened with it, and we reached out to the mayor via email. We reached out to Kevin Hill via email. I see him over there shaking his head, our former common councilor who heard through us through this whole process when he was our representative with the assessment from a few years ago. We reached out actually to all of the councilors here this evening, have had a lot of communication with our councilor, also a bit with John Goic, which we're grateful for. And we're still sad that we have only gotten one response from the other counselors, and I do understand, and my husband understands, that you have constituents of your own. But we are genuinely concerned that the citizens of this community are getting ripped off by paying $70,000 or $75,000, or is it $300,000 to GAR Associates. And we are genuinely concerned. And the only response we got, and I won't say who it was from, basically wrote back to my husband and I that we were confused. And we're not confused at all. We understand what our taxes are. We understand that our taxes are not likely to be impacted greatly in either way. But we just don't see legitimacy to the numbers that we are seeing. And we have put a significant amount of time into looking at these properties, looking at relatives' properties who live in the city. And it seems like there's no rhyme or reason to them. So why, I ask, are we accepting of this? In my mind, all I can think of is garbage. I know GAR Associates, but it's like GAR seems to be short for garbage in our mind. And why are we just saying this is okay? It seems to me that the ball was dropped, and it seems to my husband that the ball was dropped somewhere in this process. This information, these numbers that everybody in this room received for their reassessments shouldn't have ever been put in the mail. It seems to us that nobody really cross-checked this work. And we did hear last week, my husband sat right over here until the very end of the meeting. Only one of us could come. We have young children at home. I'm here tonight, he was here the other day. And they shouldn't have ever even gone into the mail. We heard the woman from the state say, you know, that they did check out 50 of the houses or whatever, and that seemed all hunky-dory in her mind, you know, and everything checked out. But the reality is those should have never even been mailed, because anybody with any brain would be able to say, yeah, this just does not make sense. So I'm hopeful by giving my time here tonight away from my children, leaving him tasked with their bedtime routine, that I can just, please, in person, I'm hoping everybody got the message. But again, we only heard back from one of you that, again, accused us of not understanding things. Please, please look at this. And in the future, put some checks in place so that this stress is not placed on innocent people in this community and cause such high levels of distress. You know, we want a reassessment, in my book, for my husband and I. We like the idea of making things more fair and equal, but this certainly is not it. So please, please. All right, thank you for listening, for your time, and I'm hoping that you are really thinking this through. All right.
Gentleman in the front row? Oh, somebody in the back row?
I really don't have a lot to say, but I'd like to say that these assessments are crazy. They're like double and triple and everything else. I've never can believe it. It was like a while back when Mayor Goic was here and I was on the council. Our big job was just to keep a steady go, you know, and don't raise it. We never had raises. We never raised anything. Everything went smooth, but it seems like it's crazy right now. I don't know. I've been a landlord for over 50 years. I got 3 or 4 places right now I can't even rent. It's just like crazy. That's what's going on. I don't think you know, there's a couple other things that bother me is I got a neighbor sick. He's had cancer and you get it. They're going to lose their house. They're getting ready to move. They said, I don't know what we can do. We can't do anything. They got it. It went from 150 to 200, and they don't have money to even fix their house. You know, so I feel sorry for them people. And it's just I just think these assessments got to be somehow, you got to do something with it. I don't know, maybe go sell the chairs or something and try to get some money back or something. I don't know. It's kind of you know, I've been through it once with Mayor Goic, and he did a good job. He was probably the best mayor we had, and we kept all the taxes low, and everything went good. And now it's crazy. I don't know. And I see some of these assessments. My wife's a realtor, so she tells me, she goes, look at this guy, look at this one, you know, 400,000, now it's 800 or whatever. You know, I don't really pay attention, but I do listen to her sometimes. I got to make out I am, but you know. So anyway, that's all I got to say. I hope they do something because there's a lot of people that are hurting. I mean, you know, I'll be, I don't know. It doesn't bother me much because I've lived my life and, you know, we did pretty good. I feel sorry for some of my neighbors. It's awful. It's awful. So that's all I got to say.
We'll get to you.
Good evening. My name's Gary Macy. I own a house at 175 East 4th Street. I'm only the second family to own this house. House was built in 1891. I bought it in 1988. My value went up from $68,000 to $172,000. My taxes will double. Can I afford it? Probably. Do I want to? No. Fair and equitable would be a 15% across the board income tax. Flat tax, no refunds, no paperwork, no IRS. And we all know how likely it is that we're going to get that. I have high concerns whether it's worth staying in this city as much as I like it. This is a great place to raise our kids. I think it's still a great place to raise our kids. But my concerns is that you're driving people to make a decision whether it's worth staying in this city. I know I am certainly debating it, and I have a decent job, and I can afford the tax. But I'm telling you right now, I do not want to. Thank you.
The gentleman in the corner is, he's been very patient.
My name is Michael Maxon, 24 Southwest 9th Street. Again, I don't have anything prepared and wasn't really going to talk, but I've heard a lot about fair and equitable. And I think it's only fitting that all the time I was sitting back there that we had the police department and that we had the fire department, and the gentleman and the chief is still here. And all of those individuals are fair and equitable in their response. They don't care who you are or where you live or your circumstances when it comes to the fact that you need help. They don't care if you live on the east side. They don't care if you live on the west side. It doesn't matter to them. My grandfather was a fireman here in town. He's the only fireman to ever be killed on duty. He didn't care whether it was the east side or the west side. He got killed on the day that he was supposed to go to my parents' wedding because he volunteered to go in on a fire that was on the west side, but he lived on the east side. It didn't matter. My brother was deputy chief of the fire department. It didn't matter to him whether it was the west side or the east side. When I got my assessment, the 4 houses they compared it to were all on the west side. Now, I know there's people on the east side that put as much effort into their homes, if not more, that are the same size as my house, the same square footage, the same size lot, but the assessors never look at the east side. Fair and equitable? Why? What's the difference? Is the east side better than the west side? The west side better than the east side? We don't get compared to them, they don't get compared to us, simply because of the river that runs down the middle? The rest of the city departments don't work that way. If there's a water main break, they don't go, well, it's on the west side. We're not doing it. The fire department gets a call. No, I don't think so. We're not going over there. Why then does the city council make a differentiation between east side and west side and the individuals and their properties? If it's fair and equitable for everybody, then all of the properties should be considered. And the 4 comparables that they gave me, 3 of the comparables were comparable. There's 1 out of the 4. 3 of the 4 were on an average, 115,000 assessment. The 1 other house was estimated to sell at 181,000, actually sold at 165. So when you throw that 1 number in, it skews the whole average, and that's where they got my $124 assessment, $124,000. It doesn't make any sense. And it's on George Washington Boulevard, not in a city neighborhood where the houses are 3 foot apart. There's no rhyme or reason, no fair and equitable to whatever their definition of comparable was when they did this. And like I said, and it made me sit here and think about it, fair and comparable, because I know Paulie, and he doesn't care. When that alarm goes off, he doesn't care if it's east side, west side. When the police department gets a call, they don't care if it's east side, west side. Nobody in this room should care whether it's east side, west side. The assessor should not care whether it's east side, west side. Garden Associations doesn't know if it's east side, west side. They had no clue. They just looked at numbers on a sheet of paper, made a decision. And without any, they had 2 years to do this. We've got 3 weeks. They've got years and decades of experience. I have none in real estate, anything. I've learned more about real estate in the last week than I care to ever learn again. And like I'm still in a position, if they don't correct the situation somehow, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to be homeless. And I don't know if I'll be homeless on the east side or the west side, but it'll be fair and equitable wherever I land. Thank you.
Anybody else? Gentlemen, is there a gentleman over on the side here?
How's it going? My name's Jeff Boehm. I've been the owner of 237 West Fifth Street for going on, it'll be 2 years here in April. You know, George a little bit ago was talking about how he sat down with Kevin Hill about, you know, what the definition of a bedroom is and all that stuff. And it kind of jogged my memory. A couple months ago, I received a letter in the mail. Now, I get junk mail almost every day. You know, I have all these different home warranties and car insurances that I don't own and I don't have. So I got this Gar Associates thing in the mail about 3.5 months ago, and I happened to open it and I read it. I thought it was a junk mail. I called my father. He told me not to worry about it, so I threw it away. All right, on this piece of paper, it stated that I had a 14 by 16 pole bed barn garage in my backyard where I have a cement pad. It also stated that I had a full bath house. Okay, I did have an old bathroom in my basement that has been non-functioning for at least, I would say 40 years, and I ripped it out. So no, my house is not 2 bathrooms, and I do not have a garage in my backyard. So this assessment of going up $98,000 is on false information. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay.
I'd like to pray for you men, because I know that without God's wisdom, we're all kind of working out of our own understanding. I'd just like to pray for you guys, that God gives you wisdom. Appreciate the fact that you can sit here and listen, and the responsibilities that you have, I'm sure you're learning as you go. And we do appreciate it. This is our country. This is our neighborhood. You are the people that we're all part of one another. We look out for one another. So I'm just going to ask, Lord, I ask that you would bless these men, Lord, with wisdom. We know that our country suffers for lack of leadership, Father God. We see what the leadership has done in our country, and we don't want that here, Father. We don't want that to come to this town. So we ask that you would lift up, that you would bless each one of these men, Lord God, with a heart to hear and a willingness to do what they hear, Lord God, from you. Thank you in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen. Thank you, guys.
Anybody else? If not, we'll start the meeting in a couple minutes. At this time, I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
His Honor the Mayor.
Here.
Counselor Walton.
Here.
Counselor Burridge.
Here.
Counselor Benucci.
Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Goic.
Here.
Counselor Plunkett.
Here.
Counselor Allen.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. I have nothing under the mayor's report. Any councilors have anything they want to say in the beginning? Oh, yes, Counselor Goic.
Yeah, again, with all due respect, I guess listening to this, listening to the people come tonight, number one, to echo what they had to say. I'm concerned for the vulnerable citizens of this community, and I'm sure everyone is, but I hope that my fellow councilors and the mayor does take into consideration, despite the greatest efforts on the part of our assessor, who I heard nothing but praise for. I've referred dozens of people over the last few days to. That's one thing that I think, people made tonight was how can this be fair? I think Mr. Parker's put it well. It's admirable for people to believe in their points of view, and I think truly our administration and the assessor do believe this is fair and equitable. But what we're seeing here in a lot of the data that's being presented and the lack of answers, when we look at the fact that it appears that the tax burden is being shifted, from commercial properties to residential properties, it's a hard sell. I don't know what the definition of fair is here. I guess we need it clarified. One other point that I think is important is the fact that when we look at these numbers from GAR, everybody's looked at them. I'm at a loss. Everybody is. And because of the egregious inaccuracies, because of the fact that, there's just too many errors. Something that bothers me is, despite the city's best efforts, and even if we get more information out on exemptions, like Mr. Thompson said, the reality is, why should the burden of proof be on the homeowners, especially regardless if we spent $300,000 or $75,000 on GAR Associates? The process was flawed from the get-go. So the last thing I wanted to say is this. I am undeterred. I know we've heard that there's no way for the city council to roll this back, but I know other municipalities have rejected revaluations. It's documented. We are pursuing it. We haven't found the silver bullet yet, but we are pursuing it, looking into every possible legal avenue in order to get proper counsel to see what we do need to proceed. Hopefully, with that, we may be able to convince, we don't have to convince the public, but maybe some other counselors that there is ground. So we haven't, I'm not giving up on that. We've brought a lot of great citizens together that are working in tangent to try to get information out. And I think one of the things we really need to do is I think we need to hold another public session, maybe the week after Easter, where people can come. And I had lots of calls after the fact. Even Kevin knows, and again, I have to hand it to him. I had messages that I saw after the meeting people sent me last time on Wednesday night at 11:30, and I sent him messages. He responded that night. I'm just, it was midnight. And I can imagine the workload he has. So I do appreciate all he's doing. And like I said, with all due respect to the administration, I feel that we owe it to the people at least to have one more question and answer session. Other communities that I've seen hired GAR, or even just other communities in general, they've done reassessment without the same company. They've held multiple public hearings and had question and answer sessions, and I think that's something the people deserve. So a lot of the questions we heard tonight, we can, again, all become better educated. Myself too, like Mr. Maximum said earlier, I've learned more about property tax and all this stuff in the last couple weeks myself. So I'm doing the best I can, but I just want to let people know that hopefully we can work that out, and after Easter there can be another public forum so that people can get more answers, and hopefully we can find information and find a path towards a legal way to basically to put a pause. And, we were asking for 2 years, citizens are, in the petitions that are circulating, at least a year. I think the reality is everybody deserves a true reval. They should be going around, they should be checking these, and again, the burden of proof shouldn't be on homeowners. I know we're doing our best, but there's so many people out there that are going to fall through the cracks that we owe it to them. So that's all I have to say tonight.
All right, thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Yes, Counselor Vanucci.
Not as long as John's, but I just wanted to say, we heard the people tonight, and it seems like everyone wants to do another public forum. We heard about 3 or 4 people tonight. John mentioned he had constituents of his own. I had plenty of constituents of my own that have been asking to share the YouTube video from Wednesday. A lot of people couldn't make that session, and a lot of people who spoke tonight have questions that are unanswered. So if there was another public forum, either next week or the following week, I think it would be very helpful. So,
All right, thank you. Any other counselors need to say anything? Seeing none, please call Resolution 75.
Approved minutes, common council meeting held March 11th, 2024.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Burridge. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 76.
Approve use of public space, Ricky Walker, owner of commercial property located at 115 East Oneida Street, to install a sidewalk and new dormer roofs.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Vanucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 77.
Approve use of public space, Greater Oswego Fulton Chamber of Commerce, in order to host the annual Farmers Market to be held June 13th, 2024 to October 10th, 2024.
Counselor Vanucci, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 78.
Approve use of public space, Oswego Minor Hockey Association, in order to host a 5K and open house at the Crisafulli Ice Rink on Sunday, May 5th, 2024.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 79.
Approve use of public space, National Junior Honor Society, to host the Jack Bobbitt Memorial 5K to be held Saturday, May 18th, 2024.
Counselor Walton, Counselor Allen. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 80.
Approve use of public space, David Thompson, owner of Gibby's Irish Pub, in order to host the Michelle Wink Memorial to be held Saturday, June 15th, 2024.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Allen. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 81.
Approve use of public space, Oswego YMCA, in order to host the annual Harbor Fest run on Saturday, July 27th, 2024.
Counselor Walton, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 82.
Approve road closures for Frederick Layton Elementary and Kingsford Elementary Schools for their annual triathlons to be held Saturday, June 1st, 2024.
Counselor Allen, Counselor Plunkett. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 83.
Approve amusement license for the 2024 events at the Oswego Speedway.
Counselor Burridge, Counselor Walker. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic. Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 84.
Authorize mayor to execute an agreement with Civic Plus to purchase new agenda management software.
Counselor Walton, Counselor Vanucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Vanucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 85.
Authorize mayor to enter into agreements with the New York State Department of Transportation and Valley Locksmith.
Counselor Allen, Counselor Burridge. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Resolution 86.
Authorize mayor to sign change order number 3 with John R. Dudley Construction Incorporated for additional work at the water treatment plant in the amount of $20,833.60.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Venucci. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 87.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete a budget amendment to the Municipal Buildings Contracted Services account in the amount of $15,000 for costs associated with the cleaning of city-owned oil tanks.
Counselor Gozick, Counselor Walton. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 88.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete a budget amendment to the Engineering Contracted Services account in the amount of $82,266.88 for costs associated with the Hydro Dam Fisherman Alert System.
Counselor Allen, Counselor Burridge. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 89.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete various budget amendments in the total amount of $60,000 to complete required auditing services.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Walton. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 90.
Authorize City Chamberlain to complete a transfer of funds from the Sewer Enterprise Contingency Account to the Sanitary Sewer Materials and Supplies Account in the amount of $22,660 to pay invoice from W.D. Malone.
Counselor Plunkett, Counselor Burridge. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 91, please.
Waive rules of common council to present resolution number 92 from the floor without committee consideration.
Counselor Walton, Counselor Allen. Any comments? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Call Resolution 92.
Authorize mayor to enter into a 5-year agreement with the New York State Unified Court System for the lease of the Conway Building to house the Oswego City Court, effective April 1st, 2024.
This is an add-on. As everybody can read, we had a date of April 1st. We were trying to get this done. So we did not go through committee, but it's in your packet. You saw the information that it's an agreement, 5-year agreement to lease the Conway Courthouse right across the way here. So anybody have any questions or concerns? Can I have a motion, please? Counselor Venucci, Counselor Walton. Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Any unfinished business? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Counselor Burridge or Counselor Plunkett? Please call the roll.
Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Counselor Walton.
Yes.
Counselor Burridge.
Yes.
Counselor Benucci.
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Counselor Goic.
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you, everyone.
Hopefully we can get another public session. People can get the answers here. I said I was surprised so many people did show up, to be honest.